Hey, you crazy cats! 42's live streams and videos are simply not available on vinyl. You will have to go to the YouTubes for that. So if you want content about British traditions and culture, cutting-edge social commentary from an unapologetically patriotic perspective, along with a side order of madness you simply will not find anywhere else, then this is the place for you. And to all those early adapters in the chat, don't forget to hit the notification bell. That's how you get the good stuff, and make sure you never miss a tasty treat. So with that being said and done, squeeze yourself in. Let's get into it. You know you want to. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening. Please delete as applicable because the internet is worldwide and time zones are still a thing. Can I get a wee audio check in the chat, please? And let's just celebrate the fact that this all seems to be working this evening so far. Yeah, who have we got in? Mr. Dave Waffle of the Waffle House fame, first 10. What about you, chum? Welcome aboard. Good duck race last night. Although the duck races are always good. I do like me a ducking race. Tricky Way, what about you, chum? Rich is in over from America. Hope all's well with you. Caught a good chunk of your show last night. All very good. Mr. Captain Packer, the professional co-host, welcome in. Come on in. The wonderful, super sexy, delectable Emma G is in the house, and she's also telling me, that the auto's a proper strong one. Yeah, sounds good. Proper strong one. Arpa Hoyt. Good evening, sir. That's where we seem to be at the minute. Now, we'll start off with a couple of shout-outs. 1 second. And a little bit of liquid. Currently drinking coffee, which I need to replenish and get some more of tomorrow because I'm running out. It's not good whenever you're running out of coffee. That could take the whole system down. Anyway, yes, shout outs. Rags, I believe, is back. I know that he was on last Sunday night. He had Matt the Angry Bootneck on. I don't know if he's streaming tomorrow evening, so keep an eye out for that. It's good to see that he's back home and at least his health's improving a bit. I don't know the ins and outs of it. I suggest you rewatch last week's stream for all of the info. I only caught some of it, but it's good to see him back, and you can get over there and give him a bit of support. The other two shows I'd like to give a shout out is Mr. RPW Media, who is based in America, will keep you up to date with everything that's going on in the political world from an American perspective. How really detailed. This guy is sharp as a tack. Brilliant recall. Does a good show. So get yourself over there on a Friday evening, starting at 11 p.m. after the ducking race. Captain Pack is telling me Regs and Sansom. That'll be good. My Sunday evenings are, I'm normally with my papa, so I miss most of Regs' stuff. But there you go. But yes, Sansom will be on tomorrow night. Anglo-Saxon, evening, brother. Welcome aboard. Thank you so much for coming along. Martin W. is in. What about you, chum? Yes. Where was I? Rich, RPW Media, political commentary on all the madness that's going on in America. Another show that you would probably like would be Robin, Courage is the Cure, who will be the guest on the end of the month show at the end of this month. and then Rich will be on the following end of the month. So I'm looking forward to both of those. Get over and give them some support. And of course, the other show that I always give a shout out to, the one, the only, the Dave Waffle House, home of the world's best duck race, uh, internet based. And if you do indeed win the duck race, you will then get to digitally spin the Wheel of Doom. And the prize won last night was indeed the liquid ass. Uh, I'm thinking Dave probably should get do some sort of an advertisement for Blue Punk because he does have quite a bit of Blue Punk stuff on that Blue Punk speakers, and I'm thinking if we had a bit of Dave rambling on about the speakers and about all the other things, and ends up with Blue Punk headphones, much better than Liquid Ass. I think that could make a really good viral advertisement campaign. But then again, some of my ideas are indeed brain farts. And Liquid Ass is like a weapons grade fart. So maybe there is some connection there. I'm really not sure. I am aware that I am starting to gibber on. I will put a stop to that right now. I'm trying to think, is there anything else I need to give a shout out to this evening? I think that is pretty much all of it. And with that, we will indeed approach the subject of this evening, which is starting off with the story of St. David. Yeah, we'll go with this one. Actually, no, we will do the BBC version first, I think, or the silly version first. 1 second, I am all over the place again. Yeah, that's what I want. This is from Visit Wales. I would like to let you all see how incredibly serious they're taking their patron saint. Which, spoiler alert, I think is not very seriously at all. Anyway, we have a couple of people sneaked in. Real Pheasant Griffin, what about you, chum? Welcome aboard and thank you for coming along. Amanda Lee, thank you very much for coming along. I hope you've all had a good day. Hope the weather's improving everywhere. It has got slightly better in Belfast, Northern Ireland, which does, I believe, have pretty much the shittiest weather anywhere in the world. We have this thing called liquid sunshine. Most of you know it as rain, but that's what we get pretty most of the time, and it has slowed down a little. It hasn't stopped. It's slowed down. We're having a little bit of time where there's an unidentified flying object in the sky, like a golden ball of fire. We're not quite sure what it is. It may be the sun that has been whispered about in these parts. It might actually break through and provide some genuine heat. But I hope that this little improvement in the weather is being felt across the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland, and indeed with our friends that are further afield in, say, like America. So there's that. Anyway, yes, we'll add this to the stage. This is from Wheels Online. This is five facts about St. David. And we have this drawing which I'm really not sure about. If it's a caricature or it's supposed to be a caricature of a stained glass window or whatnot, but it does look a little weird. Anyway, what are they telling us about him? And what information can you glean from this? Question: who was St. David and what did he do? Uh, yeah, Wheels Online, you're out doing yourself. Answer: St. David became a renowned preacher, founding monastic settlements and churches in Cromwell, Brittany, and southwest England, including possibly, including possibly, possibly, yeah, possibly. That means possibly not. Also, the Abbey at Glastonbury. St. David reputedly made a pilgrimage to Jerusalem. So some people have said that he went to Jerusalem, but with no actual evidence, from which he brought back a stone that now sits in the altar at St. David's Cathedral, built on the site of his original monastery. And I would be questioning why he brought a stone back from Jerusalem and how heavy that stone was. Did he carry it himself? Did he have baggage handlers? I don't know. But this whole story seems to be, it has a tint of the, yeah, who was St. David and what did he do? The genuine answer would be, we don't fucking know. When and where was St. David born? I wonder, will this be more definitive than the previous answer? David was born in the year 500, the grandson of Craig ap Cunna, king of Carden. According to legend, his mother, St. Nan, gave birth to him in Pembrokeshire, on a Pembrokeshire cliff top during a fierce storm. According to legend, more stuff we've made up about the man. We also don't think you're taking this seriously. The spot is marked by the ruins of Non's Chapel, and the nearby holy well is said to have healing powers. We hear a lot about these wells with healing powers. Don't know anybody's actually got healed, but there we go. What was St. David known for during his lifetime, and what was St. David's lifestyle like? I'm just going to check the chat. Welsh royalty, yeah, which in itself can be a little bit mythical. Around that time, I would say England was, or Wales was feeling a bit of a pinch with the royalty and stuff. Yeah, but this is what they're saying he is. Now, what have we got? What was St. David known for during his lifetime, and what was his lifestyle like? I wonder, is this more accurate or definitive? St. David and his monks followed a simple, austere life. Do you know what? Everybody followed a simple, austere life back then. They had no fucking choice. It's not like they were. It's not like they were getting Chinese deliveries and going to concerts every other week, because none of that yet existed. They ploughed the fields by hand rather than using oxen, and refrained from eating meats or drinking beer. St. David himself was reputed to have consumed only leeks and water, which is perhaps why the leek became the national day symbol of Wales. And yeah, let's have a think about how someone would do on a diet of leeks and water. because lakes is like mostly water. I don't think you're going to live that long. In fact, I've got a feeling that bit was made the fuck up. What miracles did St. David perform? I tell you what one he performed. Fucking surviving on a diet of lakes and water. That is a miracle. A bona fide one. The most famous miracle associated with St. David took place when he was preaching to a large crowd in Lillybowen Brief. When people at the back complained that they could not hear him, the ground on which he stood rose up to form a hill. A white dove sent by God settled on his shoulder. So this is why we get the picture with the dove, because apparently the earth made a stage for him, and then the dove arrived to let everyone know that the world was all not ending and everything was safe, and they just wanted the people at the back to be able to hear. When did St. David die, and what is his legacy? This is where we get interesting. St. David died on the 1st of March. St. David's Day in 589. So he was almost 90 years old whenever he died. He lived to 90 on lakes and water, people. There you go. Not medical advice. Not advice in any shape or form. But here you go. Apparently, if you want to live to 90, get yourself on a diet of lakes and water. I think they are shitting us just a little. Just a little. Right. He was buried at the site of St. David's Cathedral, where his shrine was a popular place of pilgrimage throughout the Middle Ages. His last words to his followers came from a sermon he gave on the previous Sunday. Be joyful, keep the faith, and do the little things that you have heard and seen me do. That's actually quite a good message for anyone. Follow my example. Provided the person saying it has led a good life and attempted to help others and being kind to those around him and whatnot. That's where anyone is promoting a Christian lifestyle. Yeah, look at how they behave with others. Look at their personal interactions. Look at all that stuff, and from that you will know if they are trying to do good or trying to do bad. And therein you will find the difference between the Christian and the plagiarism, I will say. Sort of like you get rhinos, Republicans in name only is the term that you would be common with from America within the political sphere. You get people that join the Conservative Party that have not a conservative fucking thought in their head. We have Christians who are Christians in name only, who do not actually follow any of the teachings or attempt to do good. And in the same way that in the United Kingdom, we have conservatives, for this and being very loose and class and conservative, anything on the right, because that are conservatives in name only and do not want to conserve any of our stuff. So, yeah, watch what people do and take your thoughts from them. His legacy lives on through the phrase, Gledron why patchy bitchy mean badwood. Do the little things in life. And that's also something that is quite important, especially whenever you actually get to the point where you've time to do this, where you try to do something every day that is at least a little bit of joy in that day, even if it's as simple as having a cup of coffee and a nice chocolate cookie and being relaxed because you're sitting in a clean flat that is up to date and your bills are up to date and you've nothing weighing on your mind, and you can sit and just relax and do that. That's one of the little things in life that does bring me quite a bit of pleasure. So there we go. This is what Wheels Online are teaching us, or Visit Wheels. Great advertisement for the country. Great advertisement for the Saint. It basically says we have more or less made it the fuck up. Brad James is in. We have indeed, Mr. James. We have got some silly tart in as Archbishop of Canterbury, who is no longer classed as the first among equals in the Anglican community. We have Anglicanism splitting up here, there, and everywhere. We have North American Anglicans and African Anglicans that are refusing to take communion with the Church of England, and that is going to hit their fucking funding. It's all coming back to them. It is all coming back to them. We will see. Yep. Martin W., yes, totally. Fake conservatives. Exactly. Rhinos are the Republican wing of the Democrat Party. These people are full-on Democrats that have some small issue that means they can't get on with Democrats, and they come to the Republicans, but they bring all of their other bullshit with them. Yeah. The thing about it is, we do 100% have the numbers to remove the Marxists from the Church of England. It's going to be a long, slow, hard process. And it's going to involve people doing things they really don't want to do. And to swallow a very bitter pill and go, from now on, we're going to treat the church, particularly the Church of England, because that's one that's important to the symbolism of the country. We're going to stop treating that as a place to find God. We're going to start treating it as a place to find your community. We're going to go there en masse. We're going to say to the ministers that are there, we are your congregation. We're back. Welcome. And then we are going to become involved with the running of those churches. We're going to start up mother and toddler groups in the halls that are currently sitting open all day. We're going to get the community involved, and then we're going to get elected onto the church committees, and then we're going to tell the woke minister, actually, you can fuck off. We want a traditional minister here. And then whenever that minister does well at our church and our church makes money, we're going to post them up and bring in another properly conservative religious minister, and we're going to feed them into the system until they become the Archbishops of Canterbury. And we need to do it en masse, and we need to do it right across the country, and we need to do it fucking 5 years ago. Is the reality. If you want the Church of England fixed, we need to actually go in and do it. We need to turn up. There's Bosses. What about you, Sean? Yes, Mr. Berger, this is true. Men just want peace. The amount of stuff that we put up with just to try to get a bit of peace and quiet is fucking off the charts, and we need to stop that. I am doing an ancient rite to a summons. I'm doing an ancient rite to summons a certain base turbulent priest. Ancient cultures would hang about in a temple for a large part of their day, to the extent that even Socrates got into arguments with the market traders. Yeah, the church was always the place to find your community and hopefully bump into God while you were there. It's also how we organized this whole fucking country, because you were able to meet the butcher, the baker, the candlestick maker, and if you all sort of agreed on something, you wanted to push it that way. That's where it is. The reason why your elections are sorted out by parish councils, not constituencies, parish councils, is because the churches was once the seat of the power, and you would have elected someone from your local church to go and represent you at the parish council. And that way you would also be able to debate with these people, sharpen them, and send forth your best. We are losing that ability, and it needs returned. Slims in, what about you, chum? Ooh, pork and apple sausages. Yeah, that sounds good. Base turbulent preach. Praise was how Henry II referred to Thomas Becket. We could do with a Becket. We could do with a Martin Luther as well. That that would be good. If you can do a trilogy, give us a Cromwell. We'll have this place back fucking running properly in no time. Now, I've got another link which gives us a bit more information, and I'm going to get that. Yes. Here we go. We're going to see what St. David's Cathedral says about him. This is actually quite interesting. You'll like this. This is fucking amazing. Share screen. St. David's Cathedral. Here we go. StreamYard. And add the stage. Now I'm going to zoom this in. Right. Did I zoom the wrong fucking thing? And the Field Marshal is in from down under. Hoyt, and welcome aboard. Thank you so much for dropping in. So, the first thing I want to draw your attention to is this little tag up at the top. You can change this site between English and crime egg is the written word in Welsh. So this is the English version, and whenever we look at this, we go. I'm going to highlight this so you can see exactly one. Yeah, who is St. David? St. David Delway Saint was a leading figure, a monk in the early Welsh church who lived. So I can read that quite well because that's in English. Now, really see what happens whenever I change it to Welsh. Cremwig. Yeah. Who is St. David? St. David Delway Saint is a leading figure in the monk in early Welsh church who lived in the area in the 6th century. I can read that just as well. However, I have no fucking understanding of Welsh. And that's because whenever you change this website to Welsh, it doesn't change the body of work. It changes these things up at the top only. You know, the top things. And I think that the reason why it does that is because if all this body turned into Welsh, not one fucker's reading it. But because the body of it's in English and people can read it, and they're wanting to get straight into the big writing who is St. David, they haven't even noticed this stuff up at the top in a different language. The default is Welsh. And then St. David's Cathedral can claim that the majority of the people on their website read the Welsh version, but they're actually reading English because the whole thing's a fucking scam. And you will find this with the Welsh language, with the Irish language, with the Quebec version of the French language, with the Ukrainian language, with all of this. There's a fucking war being waged with this bullshit. I just came across this and I thought I would point it out. And with that, I'm going to check the comments. Do you want to read it in normal or in Daffy Duck? Oh, fuck. Oh, a Genghis Khan would work. Well, interestingly, all of the legislation that they use to put up extra Urdu or Arabic or whatever fucking language it is, all those double signages, the how they get to doing that is they demand it be treated the same as the Welsh language, which gets its own sign. And they will do that in Ireland as well, with as they do with the Irish language. What I will say is, at least Welsh is pretty much a language. It was the only British language, Celtic. Well, actually, it's not a Celtic language. It's not a fucking Celtic language. The Celts did not exist whenever Welsh was formed. A lot of the academics call it Celtic, but they also admit that the language was knocking about for a couple of thousand years before the Celts existed. How is it a Celtic language? Nobody fucking knows. It turns out because some people like the circles on their pottery. Yeah, that makes it Celtic. Who the fuck knows at this? Anyway, let me get back and talk about St. David. So this is telling us St. David, Delway Saint, was a leading figure and monk in the early Welsh church who lived in the area in the 6th century. He founded a monastic community here, living a simple, austere life in the Celtic monastic tradition, which connected the people of Wales with Ireland, Cornwall, France, and the Scottish Isles. No, it fucking did not. See, because the Welsh Celts and the Welsh people, the Welshmen, round about this time, in the time of St. David, 563 AD, there was a really large battle in Ireland fought between the Celtic invaders of Ireland and the Ulad, the Cornethi, be the two Ulster tribes, the Picts from Scotland, the Scoti, who are Ulster Scots, and the Saxons, and the Britons, who were Welshmen, against the Celts from Ireland. They were not connected to the Celts of Ireland. They were actually enemies. But sure, let's not let facts and history get in the way of a nice fucking story. Anyway, he drew followers from all over Wales and he travelled a great deal to preach. One of his most famous stories about David preaching is that when speaking at a synod of Brenna, now Ladwin Brenna, the earth beneath his feet rose up to create a hill so his words could be heard. Newsflash, hills do not help words being heard. They help people further away see you if you're at the top of the hill. If you're, if you've got a big crowd and they're all average height, a lot of people won't be able to see over the top of the person in front. But if the person at the front is elevated, you'll be seen. Won't help you hear the person. His last words to his father, still repeated to this day, are, be joyful, keep faith, and do the little things you've seen me do. Yes. This is all in agreement with that. The earliest known life The earliest known life of St. David was written by a monk called Richard around 1080, 500 years after David died. So this is where the bullshit starts to come in and where the legends come in, because it was 500 years later and people have made stuff up. It was based on the oral traditions and memories of his sayings and the stories passed down. Not always what we would consider facts, at least they're admitting it. Later versions added more details from other sources. Where did the new sources come from, sir? Did you find archaeology, or did you make it the fuck up? According to these, his father was a prince of Kraken and his mother was Saint. Oh right, yeah. Oh right, that came after. That came like, I don't know how many years. The first stuff came 500 years after. Was this 1,000 years after? The daughter of a chieftain and a nun. Saints' lives like this were not written as a biography, but to build the reputation of the saint by drawing on parallels with other saints and with the life of Jesus himself. So, in other words, what we're saying is in the Church of Rome, we feel quite happy with padding a life out to make a saint seem more virtuous in some way, or actually create the saint. Saints' lives were written this way to serve the specific purpose. They were to inspire people to follow the example of the saint, to lead a life of holiness and faith. In the case of Rajutin, there was the added purpose of boosting the claims of the Celtic and Welsh Church. Oh, fuck me. They actually said it out loud. Oh, take the texture away, please. Right. There was the added purpose of boosting the claims of the Celtic and Welsh Church. In other words, they have used this person who was a preacher in order to further their political objectives. And the role of St. David as an archbishop, so they enhanced that role, did they? They made him more important than he otherwise was. This is what happens when you revise your history on multiple occasions. You run into problems like this because you need to make stuff up and you need to make it all fit together, and you've got various bunches of people making up various bunches of shit that cover various time lines, and you have to make them all knit together somewhere. And where you see something like this, where there is supposedly a definite person, and none of it makes sense, and everything's all a bit claustrophobic, it's because they've made it up. They include any known facts, but were usually written long after the saint's death. Trying to untangle facts from later fable would have been both impossible and would be missing the point. Oh, the whole point's to make the shit up. Later editions and legends were proof of the power and importance of the saint in some people's lives. Yeah, so there we go. From St. David's Cathedral, we're making the shit up about the saints. Great. Way to go, Wales. Ooh. Oh, excellent. That sounds really good. Oh, Anglo, good call. Please, people, do hit the like button. And if you have stumbled in here somehow and are not a regular, or indeed if you are a regular and have not yet hit the subscribe button, please do. come subscribe. You'll get alerts, possibly, and you can get more of this stuff. Yeah, yeah, there are a lot of Welsh commies. It could be all done. It could be all done. It wouldn't surprise me. We know very few hard facts about David, but as he lived 1500 years ago in a land where people passed on their history speaking it and not writing it down, that is not very surprising. He was reputed to have been unusually tall for the time, about 6 foot, on fucking lakes and water. A powerful speaker, I would expect that, and spoke as a bishop at the Synod of Beneth in 545. Now, that synod will have records. They will have taken the attendance who all was there, and they will have taken notes on the important things that were said and decided that that will be an actual bit of historical fact. But it is putting him as a bishop and not an archbishop. From mentions in some monastic chronicles, particularly Bertie White Hagen, we can believe that he lived in the area of the modern St. David's and probably started travelling around 547. This may be linked to an attack of the plague in southwest Wales, possibly a type of yellow fever originating from the Eastern Roman Empire. So, in other words, he probably started traveling because the people around him were getting fucking sick. And instead of staying in that using his holy water to fucking make them better, he went somewhere else. Yeah, that's where we're at, which caused the people to flee. David came back to establish and lead his monastery in around 550. Which became known for learning and for its pure way of life. The monastery would have been built on the Celtic tradition of small stone beehive huts, not the grand abbeys of the later centuries. He died on March the 1st in either 1589 or 601. Somewhere in that decade. The oldest chronicles disagree. The day we now celebrate is St. David's Day. Well, here we go. The story of St. David has been. I want to check the comments. These are the Davids I know. Well, I would actually say Roman Catholicism, because that would be the religion that he would have been observing at the time. Christianity is really too large a blanket to throw over everybody. Okay. Celts are a group of people who first arrived on the Iberian Peninsula around about 1000 to 1400 BC, basically 1500 years before Christ, or somewhere between that. These group of people called the Celts arrived on the Iberian Peninsula. Around about 250 BC, they arrived in the south of Ireland and they invaded Ireland. They were first documented by a Greek historian whose name I could not fucking pronounce and therefore can't remember. They're the Celtic people. However, what the historians have done is they have taken all the British indigenous tribes that were there for 7,000 years before a Celt existed and decided that they were Celts for 7,000 years before the Celts existed. I think they may have had a time machine, or they're bullshitting us on their actual demographics, because Celts good and Celts are not Britons, and they really don't want the British people to be classed as indigenous, uh, and therefore and Celts are not indigenous to Britain. Uh, the tribes like the Icenian stuff are indigenous to Britain. I hope that helped. The Celts were like, well, we were all pagan back then. Pagan's a term for any religion other than Christianity. So before Jesus arrived and Christianity took off, everybody was pagan. Yeah, no, it's uh, before Christ and after death. I will keep with that forever. Blackjack Guitar, welcome aboard. Thank you so much. Yeah, it's debatable how much of that's Celtic and how much of it's not. The other thing I will say is that what they what they did was they've attempted to attribute anyone that had knots and circles and stuff like that to be Celtic, but that stuff was not going about before the Celts existed. Uh, they may have refined it and made it more popular, but yes, the knot work and the art is indeed lovely. Yeah, but I'm not 100% sure the Bell Beaker people was a whole new band of people, or was it a new technology that spread to the people that existed there? That's the one thing that I'm not 100% sure, because uh, we have got a change in the materials they used and how they made things, but that does not. That does not mean that it couldn't have been the same people with new knowledge. Yeah, well, the Vikings were quite busy in Ireland and Scotland about the same time as the Celts invaded. 1 second, I need to cough. Mm. My nose is getting all stuffy. Mm. Sorry, 1 second, I'm just checking through the charts. Right, okay, I'm happy enough. I'm deep with all of that. Uh, The story of St. David has been added to over the centuries with details from many sources. The weaving in of golden threads which have created a rich tapestry of stories we have today. Some preserve whispers and fragments of other stories which take us to the culture of history of an earlier Wales and to the earliest traces of Christianity in this place. Some draw on details told in the stories of many saints to emphasize the holiness of David and to link him with the places in the landscape and the surrounding areas. Others weave in parallels with the life of Jesus to make listeners think of the God who David served. St. David is understood to have performed many miracles of healing, but at a different but a different miracle story tells us of the importance of bees. An Irish monk called Medonic. Oh, by the way, see, whenever an Irish monk gets involved in one of these stories, there's going to be something good. There was the guy that the Irish saint. Uh, he isn't actually a saint, that had a little chat with Loch Ness, the Loch Ness monster. So we'll see where this goes. An Irish monk called Medonic was a beekeeper in David's monastery, making honey and wax. He had to return to Ireland, but his bees kept following him to the boat. 3 times he returned the bees until David blessed them and allowed Mondoc to take them with him, reputedly introducing honeybees to Ireland. Oh, fuck away off. Yeah, Sorry, I'm not believing that one. One example is the story of David's struggles with the pagan chieftain. Boa then established a ministry in the valley. This story of conversion, magic, martyrdom, and the defeat of pagan beliefs included elements which probably preserve traces of what the confrontation between the old and the new faiths was like. It also suggests this valley was an ancient sacred place before David came. It provided an explanation for the wellspring in the valley and served to demonstrate the power of David. He could cause by his men and cattle to fall and face down a powerful local chieftain and establish a church. Boa was an Irishman and local pagan chieftain. David came into the valley below his fortified homestead and lit fires which staked his claim to the area. Boa sent his warriors to drive David and his companions away. But David cast a spell. I'm pretty sure Christianity and witchcraft do not go well together. Just saying. Which made Boa's men and all his cattle fall dead. Boa made peace with David and converted to Christianity. So David lifted the enchantment, but Boa's wife was still opposed to David and sent her maidservants to bathe naked in the river to tempt David's monks. When this failed, she lured her stepdaughter into the valley and cut off her head. A miraculous healing wheel sprang from the spot. This martyrdom sealed the fate of paganism in the area. Boa's wife went mad and ran away, and Boa was beheaded by invaders after turning against David. Legend has it that the fire fell from heaven and destroyed all traces of Boa. Let me just say this. If you want people to take Wales seriously as a country, and if you want them to take your traditions seriously, maybe make them at least somewhat believable. And this might also explain why Visit Wales didn't give that much information about David, because it's the more you read, the weirder it gets, which shouldn't be the case with the saint. The stories and legends all point to St. David as an example to follow, the model of a Christian life. David's monastic routine and that of his monks was one of great simplicity and self denial. The days were centered on prayer, work in the fields, pulling the plough themselves, and reading. They ate one meal a day of bread, herbs, and vegetables, and drank only water. This was a contrast to the chieftains and some of the wider church, who expressed their power and status in feasting, having many servants, and gift giving. Although David had great status within the church as a bishop and archbishop, he worked alongside his monks doing the little things. His faith inspired him, and the stories of his life inspired others. David saw himself as a signpost to God. See this paragraph, the examples of David? Yeah. Maybe stick with this stuff. Less of the head chopping off. Celtic Christianity had a close relationship with the natural world. Celtic Christianity is as real as this website being in Welsh, because it's not, it's English. It's the same level of reality to Celtic Christianity. Had a close relationship with the natural world, but it was sometimes a harsh one. David was a waterman or a dwiffer, and that is someone who drank only water. Not the more common barley beer. Yeah, so barley beer was in use at this time. We've got confirmation of that. And the reason why people drank beer as opposed to water was because the beer didn't poison you, because in the process of being made, it had to be boiled and the water was polluted. But not where David lived, apparently. And who would stand up and who would stand up to his neck in the sea, reciting the palms as a penance? Well, it wasn't. It wasn't. It depends whether or not. The problem is that the people that were doing it weren't actually Celts and wouldn't have described themselves as Celts, and nobody else at that time described them as Celts. Whenever the Romans came to England, slightly before this time, they called the English by their tribal names. They called the Scottish the Scottish between Scotty, Pict. Uh, yeah, they would not have described themselves as Celts, but however, history has described them as Celts. That's probably where the best way I could explain that to you. Uh, it just does my boxing a little bit. Yeah. He would stand up to his neck in the sea, reciting poems as a penance. However, many stories also tell of David's kindness and his humanity. He was a great healer and scholar, probably seeking several probably speaking several languages, including an early form of Welsh, Latin, and Old Irish. Mm, yeah, not quite sure what your Old Irish is, mate. And you'll notice that none of these languages are described as Celtic. But I digress. Remote and wild areas were believed to harbour demons who have who had to be fought to save the souls of all the people. Personal comforts and desires were also to be resisted as being as the lures of the devil. David and his followers saw themselves as engaged in a battle of good over evil, which had to be fought every day. Drelly was a form of the name of David in the dialect of southwest Wales. David is another form of David now in more common use. The cult of St. David. The cult of St. David, where people were drawn to him and his miracles during his lifetime, grew in strength and spread after his death. Many sites in the landscape, such as Healing Wales, are believed to have sprung up where he performed miracles, and churches were dedicated to him across Wales and elsewhere. The area around the peninsula became known as Dwesland, an area under his protection. David was buried in his own monastery. His early shrine was destroyed by a fire in 645 and repeatedly raided by the Vikings, but always renewed and rebuilt. The later medieval shrine, which was restored in 2012, attracted thousands of pilgrims as two visits here were considered of equal value as one journey to Rome. What the fuck? This is where we run the problems with Roman Catholicism, because going to this tomb twice is the same as making one journey to Rome to the Vatican, and making that journey somehow gets you brownie points for going to heaven. And three would equal a pilgrimage to Jerusalem. Yeah, because apparently what God really needs is for you to walk about the world. Uh, I'm not quite sure how these brownie points work, uh, being a Protestant Catholic, but I'm not in favour with them. Uh, some wanted healing or other kinds of help, while others looked for forgiveness of sins. But St. David, while a saint, was always clear that it was simply a channel for God's grace. His miracles were the work of God through him, a faithful servant. The restored shrine of St. David's here in the cathedral is used as a focus for prayer and reflection by many people. St. David has become a symbol of Wales, a figure to which Welsh people all over the world can turn. His feast day is a national day and international celebration of Welsh culture and identity. Yeah. See, the thing about it is, the Welsh people have a culture and identity that is not made up. I'm going to say it again. The Welsh people actually do have a culture and identity that was not made up. They could maybe stick with that and reduce some of the invented stuff. Just saying. But he is especially associated with this place and the area. We do not have anything which belonged to David, except perhaps the spirit that many feel in his cathedral. But in many ways, it best honours David, the man who was not interested in material things and simple possessions, were held in common with his fellow monks. Look, what I want to say here is I do realise that I have poked the holes in this narrative and pointed out the things that are obviously incorrect. What I need to emphasize here is that none of that is the fault of St. David himself. He did not ask anyone to exaggerate his stories. He did not ask to be canonized. He did not ask to become a national symbol for Wales. It is the people who came after him that have pushed him into that position. And I believe wholeheartedly that had they kept to something along the lines of, we do not have anything which belonged to David except perhaps the spirit that many feel in his cathedral. But in many ways, what best honours David, the man who was not interested in material things and the simple possessions, and his simple possessions were held in common with his fellow monks. David's legacy is this example. Yeah, stick with that. And I know that you do need to say other things and bits and pieces, and I do realise that the reason why you have these shrines and the required journeys is because whenever the people come to that cathedral, they're going to have to pay money to the cathedral. They're probably also going to support local businesses to buy their food, even back those days, and it was good for the economy. But holy fuck, please, don't go overboard with it. The the problem isn't so much how much Welsh history is being taught. The problem is the way it's being taught, because it's not being taught truthfully and honestly. And that's a really large problem. And we have got to the point where facts are not what actually happened, but a widely held belief. I'll tell you how good Wales is doing with its history. Pretty much nobody knows their proper national anthem. Wales is that good and accurate with its history that most of the population do not know its actual national anthem. They believe their national anthem of a country that's supposedly been around for thousands of years is one that can be sung before a rugby match by the author because it was only written fucking a few years ago. I don't know how many years it is, whether it's 10, 30, 40 or whatever, but it's relatively recent because the writer turns up and sings it before the rugby matches, when in actual fact, that is indeed only a song, and their actual national anthem is similar to the Scottish national anthem, the English national anthem, and the Northern Irish national anthem, God Save Our King. Anyway. Yeah. Which began in about the 1830s, boss, with the revisions. One second, I'm just checking through the comments. And with that, we are going to have a musical interlude. Let me see. What will we have? What would make a good... yeah, we're going to have Old My Way. A little bit of the Dreadnought with Old My Way. And I am going to nip to the toilet while that was happening. Let's see, this is almost past the adverts. We can skip that. Give us a bunch of volume.
"'Tis a damn tough life, full of toil and strife, we whalermen undergo. And we don't give a damn when the day is done, how hard the winds did blow. 'Cause we're homeward bound from the Arctic around, with a good ship taut and free. And we don't give a damn when we drink our rum with the girls of old Maui. Rolling down to old Maui, me boys, rolling down to old Maui. We're homeward bound from the Arctic around, rolling down to old Maui. Once more we sail with a northerly gale towards our island home. Our mainmast sprung, our whaling done, and we ain't got far to roam. 6 hellish months we passed away on the cold Kamchatka Sea. But now we're bound from the Arctic around, rolling down to old Maui. Rolling down to old Maui, me boys, rolling down to old Maui. We're homeward bound from the Arctic around, rolling down to old Maui. Once more we sail with a northerly gale to the ice and wind and rain. Them coconut fronts, them tropical lands we soon shall see again. Our stunsail's bones is carried away, what care we for that sound? A living gale is after us, thank God we're homeward bound. Rolling down to old Maui, me boys, rolling down to old Maui. We're homeward bound from the Arctic around, rolling down to old Maui. How soft the breeze through the island trees, now the ice is far astern. Them native maids, them tropical glades is awaiting our return. Even now their big brown eyes look out, hoping some fine day to see our baggy sails running for the gales, rolling down to old Maui. Rolling down to old Maui, me boys, rolling down to old Maui. We're homeward bound from the Arctic around, rolling down to old Maui. Rolling down to old Maui, me boys, rolling down to old Maui. We're homeward bound from the Arctic around, rolling down to old Maui.
There we go. That was the Dreadnoughts and going down to old Maui. Yeah, it's amazing how many fucking trans Muslims were knocking about back then, or it's mad. It's mad how these things all just sort of appeared. Now for something a little bit more lighthearted, a little bit of fun, might I add. And this is a old tradition from Lanark in Scotland called Whuppity Scoorie. What you will notice across the United Kingdom and probably across other European countries or possibly America. I'm not sure about those people. I know more about our own stuff. There are very few celebrations or events that take place in March and April. And that's because that's when we traditionally do Lent. But what they have snuck into the middle there are the saint days of St. David and St. George. And that's interesting because the feast days would get you off the problem that we have with Lent, whereby you originally we abstain from eating from sun up to sundown in the same way that the Muslims do. We stopped doing that. But the feast day of St. David would give you a day where you were allowed to eat. That would be celebrated in the church. Now, we have another thing that happens during that time called Whuppity Scoorie. And this is coming from Discovered Lanark. And StreamYard, let's add that to stage. Yeah, because there were a lot of black Italians right enough. It's not good. Nah, that is looking a bit small on the screen. I'm going to zoom this in. So, Whuppity Scoorie. Let us hear all about this. Say goodbye to winter and hello to spring. So this is an early spring custom. The exact origins and age of this most oddly named Lanark's custom is unfortunately never likely to be conclusively proven. Held on the 1st of March each year, and the modern version of the custom comprises of a large group of young children gathering at the foot of town steeple Lanark Cross at 6 p.m. Each child is equipped with a ball of paper on the end of a length of string. On the first strokes of the small bell, which has lain silent since the end of the previous autumn, the children run three times clockwise round the church, swinging the balls of paper over their heads. After the completion of the run, there's a scramble for small change held in Hindford Place. So all these kids at the start of spring are going to get a chance to let off some energy. Lanark. Thank you, Slim. Yeah, they do. They blackwash fucking everything. Our patron saint is Wilbrord, an Anglo-Saxon Northumbria monk who became the apostle of the Franks and Frisians here in the Netherlands. Ah, excellent, Mr. Voss. I will say that the Royal Palace in Amsterdam is very nice, and I have walked across the forecourt singing "Hello, hello, we are the Billy Boys." I thought that would be suitable in an ancestral home of William III. Right. Yeah. So these kids are all going to get the opportunity to run around, blow away the cobwebs, and then there's going to be a scramble for loose change. Somebody throw change up in the air, and then the kids will all fight over it. Whuppity Scoorie is organised these days by the Royal Borough of Lanark Community Council, who took over the role from the Town Council in 1975. But in the distant past, it does not appear to have been an official event, as there are no mention of it in the Town Council minutes. Yeah. See, here's what happens. We start off with our traditions that we organize ourselves and do ourselves, and then we have them the way we actually want them, and then we get lazy. We allow the council to get involved, and then they give us a sanitized version. And then they decide that theirs is the only one that will be allowed, and then part of your tradition dies. Be careful with that, people. The only written records concerning the event are to be found in the pages of the Hamilton Advertiser. Various theories have been put forward, both of the origin of the ceremony and the unusual name. The name Whuppity Scoorie appears for the first time in association with the ceremony in 1890, which is not that long ago, relatively speaking, when the Hamilton Advertiser reported on ringing the 6 o'clock bell, stating that as the bell was rung, the local youths cheered, then indulged in a lively variation of Whuppity Scoorie, in which the boys, having a bonnet tied to a string, whirl them about their heads, and if they see one of their number off his guard, he gets a quick awakening. The ceremony was not reported under the headline of Whuppity Scoorie until 1893. I think this probably started with a bunch of kids were told they had to go to church, and they had a couple of minutes to be children before the service started, whenever the bell started, and this is what happened. I think that's actually quite possible and probable. For many years, there was a connection with the wee bell ceremony in New Lanark, although the earliest reports make no mention of this. The exact source of this is unknown, but it was reported in 1894 that although the custom was believed to be centuries old, for the last 120 years, the boys had marched to meet the workers coming home from New Lanark and employed their bonnets as at the cross, but sometimes other weapons were used. Hold on. I've missed something here. For many years, there was a connection with the wee bell ceremony in Lanark, although the earliest reports make no mention of this. The exact source of this is unknown, but reported in 1894 that although the custom was believed to be centuries old, for the last 120 years, the boys had marched to meet the workers coming home from New Lanark and employed their bonnets as at the cross, but sometimes other weapons were used. This seems like there's some sort of a physical altercation that has been happening. There is even less evidence to suggest that the origins of the custom are to be found in the whipping and scarring of miscreants in the bow, in bygone ages or in the punishment of witches. The Borough and Kirk sessions record no such punishments. Perhaps like Lanark's other festivals, Whuppity Scoorie or the Wee Bell ceremony has a more prosaic source. The ringing of the bell, which has been silent throughout the winter darkness, heralded the advent of spring, and later evenings after the day's work was done. Possibly the custom grew as a spontaneous celebration on the part of the apprentices and other youth in the town to mark the onset of leisure time, which could be appreciated in the daylight. And here's a picture of Whuppity Scoorie in the 60s from the Lanark Museum. Bunch of kids all wrapped up, and looks like they're scrambling for money. What else do we have? Yes, here's a little girl with something that she's washing about her hair and seems to be running around the school. Yeah, we've got newspaper clippings. And let's see, can we actually find some video of this event? I don't know what a Peaky Blinders bonnet is because I've never watched a minute of that show. Amsterdam's nice. There's a lot of history there, a lot of museums. Yeah, it seems pretty much like that. One momento. I'm going to have a quick look. Yeah. Oh, we have video of this. I have I have sourced a video of the madness. Let's get this. Right, there's Ticketmaster. Here we go. I think this is going to be noisy children running about. Here we go. Video of Whuppity Scoorie. Who's helping fun?
Go on, go on! Go on!
We're getting tired now. You get your turn. Come on the last lap. Now, what I would like to say about this is That's fucking class. Nah, it's also bullshit, but it's our bullshit, and we get that. Nah, how you keep your area? Mark Sheldon. I'm from Brum. Piggy Blinders have romanticised gangs by making them out to be some kind of working class heroes. They weren't. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Mark, I've not seen a minute of Piggy Blinders, but I will say that I agree with that statement on the face of it because, yeah, they do romanticize everything. In the same way they romanticize the our provisional Irish Republican Army. You know, uh, I don't think the gangs helped anyone other than themselves. I think, yeah, I'd agree with that. But as I was saying, if you want your area to remain looking English, Scottish, Welsh, Northern Irish, British, do stuff like that, Scoorie. Uh, do do stuff like that. Find the things that you traditionally did that are have no real purpose, but there's fun, and you do it, and you do it as often as you can, and you fuck up the traffic in the area, and you make it that people that don't like that type of stuff find it difficult to live there, and you'll find that your area becomes much nicer. Uh, you we're all very aware that Muslims pray in the middle of the street whenever they have no requirement to do so, but they do it because it messes the whole place up, and it's who's going to put up with that bullshit in the area better, the Muslims or us. We won't put up with it well, so we'll move out. However, where you do lots of stuff like this, the Muslims will move out because they can't be bothered with it and they will go somewhere that doesn't do that. And it's like your local area's immune system. And we haven't used ours enough. And I think we could. There you go. Now, we have other things to talk about today. We have a couple of nautical features. The first one being a ship that yeah. Do you know what, Slim? Barbecues and picnics. Barbecues and picnics. Very British tradition. You go out to the local park and have a picnic or even bring your food and cook it. Yeah. And whenever somebody complains that you're doing it and you've got George Crosses or Scottish Saltires or Welsh Dragons or whatever it is that shows that you are there together and you are part of this thing, and you go, you're complaining about a fucking picnic? Give me a headpiece, fuck away off. And they exaggerate the extent of the gang's power. They were really illegal boogies. But, well, it's hard to know exactly how much reach those people would have had. I know of organisations similar to that hold quite a bit of power. And that's about as much as I'm going to say on that subject on this open net. But yes, here we go. We have a ship called the SS City of Glasgow that was launched from Liverpool quite a while ago. Yep, let's hear a little bit about the SAS City of Glasgow, and this is it's an anniversary thing. It was around this time of year that this all happened. Yeah, that's going to need a zoom in. Zoom in. So, yeah, let's zoom in some more. The SAS City of Glasgow was a pioneering steamship that played a significant role in early transatlantic travel. Built on the River Clyde in Scotland, it was a symbol of shipbuilding prowess in the region, helping to usher in the era of steam-driven passenger and cargo ships that would revolutionise global transport. So it was built by Todd McGregor in Glasgow in 1850, so just before the 1900s. It was an iron-hulled steamship, approximately 210 feet long, and 1,600 gross tons. It was originally built with paddle wheels, but later converted to screw propulsion. The SAS City of Glasgow was commissioned by the British and American Steam Navigation Company, part of the surge in transatlantic commerce and migration in the mid-19th century. Built on the banks of the River Clyde, it represented the cutting edge of shipbuilding at the time, when the industry was shifting from traditional wooden vessels to iron-hulled steamships. The Clyde, already a centre of excellence for shipbuilding, had established a reputation for producing vessels for global maritime trade, and the SAS City of Glasgow was no exception. The ship was constructed by Todd McGregor, a leading shipbuilder of the time, known for their innovative designs and engineering excellence. The choice of iron for the hull was significant, as it offered greater strength and durability compared to wooden ships, which were more vulnerable to damage and decay. The SAS City of Glasgow, which was notable for being one of the earliest ocean-going steamships with screw propulsion, which was more efficient than paddle wheels, allowing the ship to navigate rough seas more effectively. So it's all pretty good. It's a good ship. The inaugural voyage was on the 15th of March 1850 from Glasgow to New York. 400 passengers of steerage, so bottom class, no rich fuckers about, and 87 cabin passengers, and general merchandise in the cargo hold. The SS City of Glasgow made its maiden voyage on March 15, 1850, departing from Glasgow and arriving in New York after a relatively smooth crossing of the Atlantic. Its design catered for both immigrants and more affluent passengers, with accommodation for 400 steerage passengers, most immigrants seeking new opportunities in the United States, and 87 cabin passengers in more luxurious settings. Early Titanic think. At a time when steamships were competing with sailing vessels for transatlantic supremacy, the SAS City of Glasgow stood out for its combination of speed and reliability, which we'll call into question momentarily. 1 second. The amount of phlegm I cough up is off the charts, mate. Oh, fuck. Blah. Yep, at the time, steamships were competing with sailing vessels for transatlantic supremacy. Steam power allowed to maintain a regular schedule, an advantage over wind-dependent sailing ships that were at the mercy of the elements. The ship quickly established a reputation for being reliable and affordable means of crossing the Atlantic. It became a popular choice for immigrants heading to the New World. Reputation and significance. The SS City of Glasgow was part of a new transatlantic steamships that played a key role in the movement of people and goods between Europe and North America. It is its importance lay not only in its technical innovations, but also its impact on immigration. By offering affordable passage to immigrants, it helped facilitate the mass movement of people from Europe to the United States, contributing to the economic and social development of their country. I need liquid. The ship was operated by Inman Line, which had a reputation for providing efficient service across the Atlantic. The company's emphasis on immigrant transportation allowed it to thrive during a period when millions of people were seeking new opportunities in North America. The SS City of Glasgow was one of the company's flagship vessels, contributing to its growing dominance in the transatlantic shipping market. So, here we go. Its final voyage. We've got to the interesting bit. The final voyage, it departed Liverpool on the 1st of March 1854, heading for Philadelphia. 480 passengers and 85 crew. It disappeared without a trace. The story of the SS City of Glasgow took a tragic turn during what would be its final voyage. On the March 1st, 1854, the ship set sail from Liverpool bound for Philadelphia, carried 480 passengers, most of them immigrants, and a crew of 85. The ship was never heard of again, and no wreckage was ever found. Generally speaking, whenever a ship does go down, wreckage floats up somewhere. Even with a metal ship, there's a lot of stuff in it that's made of wood. You've got lifeboats, you've got all sorts of stuff. You've got sails that'll travel on the water. You have all sorts of stuff, and also you have bodies that whenever they do float and make their way, but none of that happened. Nothing was ever seen of it again. The disappearance of the SS City of Glasgow remains one of the greatest maritime mysteries of the 19th century. At the time, there was a widespread speculation about what might have caused the ship's loss. Some theories suggest that it may have struck an iceberg or encountered a severe storm, while others speculated that a catastrophic failure of the iron hull might have led to its sinking. The complete absence of any survivors or debris only deepened the mystery. I will come to my opinion in a moment. I will do this last little bit. The SS City of Glasgow holds an important place in maritime history as one of the first successful transatlantic steamships. One would argue how successful it was, helping to revolutionize ocean traffic. Its loss also contributed to the growing realization that maritime safety needs to be improved, particularly in terms of communication, lifeboat provisions, and hull construction standards. The ship's disappearance had a profound impact on public perception of transatlantic travel. The tragedy highlighted the dangers that passengers faced during the long sea voyages, even aboard steamships, which were widely seen as safer and more reliable than the sailing ships. However, the technological advances represented by ships like SS City of Glasgow would eventually lead to improved safety standards and the continued development of steam-powered ocean liners, culminating in the golden age of transatlantic travel in the late 19th and early 20th centuries, like the HMS Titanic, which, by the way, was fucking fine when it left here. The SS City of Glasgow was a vessel of remarkable importance during its brief career, built on the Clyde and embodied the innovation and craftsmanship of the Scottish shipbuilders during a transformative period of maritime history. Though its mysterious disappearance remains unsolved, its contributions to the development of steam-powered transatlantic travel and its role in facilitating large-scale immigration to the United States ensures that it remains an iconic figure in maritime history. The ship's legacy lives on as a symbol of the early steam era, demonstrating that both the promise and perils of the new ocean age. And I indeed do have a theory. I believe that all those people, the last No, that fire started in Liverpool. We did not send it out of here with its with its coal holds on fire. Yeah, definitely not us. And yeah, there was a fucking hell of a lot of issues with it. But yeah, no. Uh, I don't think so. I'm not sure. Uh, yeah, yeah. Like we us in East Belfast, whose forefathers built that Titanic and the Olympic and the Britannic, we have been told categorically it was fine when it left here. We ain't taking the blame for shit. But yeah, there was a problem with the coal hole being on fire, there being a bulge. Yeah, yeah, it was, mate. The speaking to all the yard men, the men that worked in that shipyard, there's not a chance in hell that it got swapped. It couldn't have been done. Uh, what those men can do, I do know that there was a ship came in the 70s that was a cruise ship for repairs and stuff that had a grand piano on it, and by the time it had docked, the grand piano had been fucking craned off on the other side before the people could get there to guard it. So yeah, the people in that shipyard can make things disappear really well and look differently, but uh, all uh, all reports are that no, that would not have been possible to do the swap, mate. Uh, that's what I'm basing that on. Nah, there is another naval nautical tragedy that occurred this time of year, and let's see, just yep. The other thing that this is the other thing that happens. Oh, fucking right. Yeah, they are. There's also the story. Whether or not it's true, I honestly don't know. But there was apparently a guy in the shipyard that was getting dockets for taking away straw because you would have got straw in package cases and whatnot, and it gathered up. And if you wanted the straw, you could get it from you could get it chipped and take it home. And this guy was coming out with a wheelbarrow full of. That's why the spare propellers are now welded into place. Scrap bronze is worth a fortune. Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah. Uh he was taking a wheelbarrow of straw out once a week, apparently for his pigeons and stuff. But and the security knew that there was something not quite right, and they were searching through the straw every week. And yeah, it turned out he was stealing the fucking wheelbarrows. But there you go. The other thing that happened, the other nautical thing that happened this week would be it's the anniversary of the Herald of Free Enterprise. Uh, yeah, it is, but it doesn't really quite stack up. The it couldn't have got swapped with the Olympic. It just wasn't possible. I think the biggest problem was being short of coal. If it hadn't been short of coal, it wouldn't have been running the way it was at night, and we'd have missed the iceberg. Right. Hurl the free enterprise. The capsizing of the Hurl the Free Enterprise only a few minutes after the Belgian port of Zeebrugge on the night of 6th of March 1987, killing 183 people on board. To this date, the incident is considered not only the deadliest casualty involving a UK registered ship since 1919, the Titanic, but also a wake-up call for several safety improvements in this type of vessel. In addition, this catastrophic capsizing became the cause for the 1987 for the IMO Assembly to develop international safety management. In the afternoon of 6th of March 1987, the UK registered Ro-Ro, that's roll-on, roll-off ferry, Hurl the Free Enterprise sailed into the inner harbour Belgium's port of Zeebrugge with 80 crew members and 459 passengers, 81 cars, 47 freight vehicles and 3 other vehicles on board. Leaving for Dover, the Hurl passed the outer mole at 1824. She capsized about 4 minutes later. During the final moments, the ferry turned rapidly to starboard and was prevented from sinking totally because her port side took the ground in shallow water. The Hurl came to rest in a heading of 136 with her starboard side above the surface water, rapidly filling the ship below the surface level, trapping people inside the hull. As a result, 183 people on board, others say 188, lost their lives. I wonder where the other people are. Mostly from hypothermia, many others were injured. Probable causes. The immediate factor that led to the Hurl capsizing was that it went to sea with its inner and outer bow doors open. The official investigation report leads, namely key factors included negligence. The assistant boatswain had accepted that it was his duty to close the bow doors at the time of departure for Zeebrugge, and he failed to carry it out. Whilst he had opened the bow doors on arrival at Zeebrugge, he went to his cabin after completing his task, where he fell asleep and was not awakened by the call announcement on the loudspeakers that the ship was ready to sail. He remained asleep on his bunk until he was thrown out of it when the Hurl began to capsize. Meanwhile, the first chief officer and the captain also failed to check if the doors were closed upon departure. See, this is the problem. It's all getting blamed on this fucker who is the lowest person down. The chief officer and the captain failed to check if the doors were closed. And that's because the doors were never fucking closed on departure because there wasn't enough time. The official accident report highlighted the poor relationship between the ship operators and shore-based managers contributed to the tragedy. In court hearings, an ambiguity became evident regarding the definition of each one's duties and responsibility. It was a failure to give clear orders about the duties of the officers and yeah. Okay. I'm going to cut away from all this and give you the TLDR version. What I'm also going to do is, see, if you want to read all of that, please do. And I'll give you the TLDR. What happened was you had a ship that was doing 2 trips a day from Zeebrugge to Dover, and the reason why I did 2 strips a day instead of 3 was because there wasn't enough time to get all the vehicles off and all the vehicles on while the tide was high enough to actually float the ship out to sea. And they come up with a genius idea. On the way into port, they would open the doors. And that way, as soon as it hit the dock, the cars could start moving. So you'd be in your car waiting to drive off, and the door would be down, the water would be there, and then you'd drive off whenever you got as far as the land. And then in they went. All the cars came out, all the cars went on. And even with doing that, they still didn't have enough time to close all the doors. So they would head out again and close the doors while they were on their way. And this was all done for one reason and one reason only: to improve profit. And the owner of the ship, the captain of the ship, the officers of the ship must have known that it's really not good to be stealing a boat that the water has the ability to come into. And this was a problem. "42 should have the power to administer ducks." Yeah. So this was all about profit and nothing else. And because of that, they decided the attempt to sail a ship with all the doors open and the water coming in. And we're going to do a little bit of poetry. Let's see, how long ago did I write this? 2012. So this is an oldie but a goodie. This is "Enterprise is Never Free, I Hurled," by myself, 42. We will zoom this in a little bit. If you zoom in. Fuck me. That should have been a capital I. That should have been a capital A. Yeah, this is very early. I was not polished. Anyway, this is my poem about the hurl of the free enterprise. So the skipper knew, as did the crew, that a boat can't float with open doors, but they went ahead and slipped their moors to keep that boat on schedule. For the owner knew he'd need extra pound with a quick turnaround, so he cracked the whip and said, "Sail that ship with open doors and keep that boat on schedule." So they went ahead and slipped their moors with open doors, when the owner knew, and the skipper too, as did the crew, that a boat won't float with open doors, but they kept that boat on schedule. And Neptune knew there was something wrong, so he sent some extra waves along, when the owner knew, and the skipper too, as did the crew, that a boat won't float with open doors, but they went ahead and slipped their moors to an extra pound with a quick turnaround and keep that boat on schedule. So the waves washed in and swirled around. 193 people drowned. The blame simply got handed down from the owner who knew to the skipper who knew onto the crew, because it's not the owner's fault that a boat can't float with open doors, but they went ahead and slipped their moors to be an extra pound with a quick turnaround, and now that boat's got no schedule, has it? There you go. And with that, we're approaching the end. Sorry, I just need to get a bit of liquid. That chip only sank you, made it into a crappy film. Yeah. The other thing I would say is that the owners of that boat were Townsend Tarson, who got turned into P&O. Anglo, yes, I was 100. That's exactly where I was going at. Yep. So whenever you see P&O Cruise Lines, that's the people that caused this bullshit, trying to make extra dough. And we are going to be playing out with England Day. Anybody want to get involved in England Day? It's really, really easy. What I would like people to do is do something that is explicitly English. It could be anything. It could be going for a full English breakfast. It could be going for a walk in English countryside, somewhere distinctive. It could be visiting a historic place or a building and seeing the picture of it with England Day 2026. You don't even have to put your face in the picture. It can be simply the place or whatever you did. Yeah, bangers and mash. Perfect. I don't know how this is a hard sell. A little picture of your fucking bangers and mash, or indeed pie and mash. Bangers and mash, pie and mash, whatever. Along, and it can go on to the England Day. It can go on the England Day site. It can go on the Facebook. It can be logged as an event that happened. And if we could get one thing happening in every county, it's amazing how much that would help. If you are interested in forming a resistance, that would be really helpful. That could have legs on it, and it's not something that other people can stop. Now, with that, I'm going to play the outro, and it is going to be England Day. And I do it's on purple. I will put your comments up on the screen as always. Who are ye in rags and rotten shoes, all dirty and bearded, blocking up the way?
We are English. We come from the edge of Europe,
beyond which lies only water,
ice and death.
This is the place we made our home.
Raised our cattle, planted the crops, evoked their gods from circles formed of stone, so those gods could witness us atone.
When Roman forces did invade, we fought as lions, refused to yield, and those we left out in the field, but the English, they were the seed.
Who adversity did propagate, an indomitable people who we would fight, toil and mock in equal measure, and find humour in our adversity, because that is our way. The battle-weary tribes besieged by Vikings,
banded as brothers with Angles, Jutes and Saxons. It took some years of consideration
to produce our culture of toleration. The creation of the English nation at Stamford Bridge we won the day, but William was quickly on his way.
1066, the commutation brought the cursed Norman invasion. A ruling class they would impose until calls for Magna Carta arose. And to all the kings the message was sent: you only rule us by consent.
So what of the English, I hear you ask? You know us as the working class, the ones whose toil, blood and sweat brought you the greatest empire yet. So you should learn at your mother's knee of revolutions that number 3.
That number 3. 1, 2, 3.
Agricultural, where mechanised planting and harvesting was married to selective breeding, we created a food service, the envy of the world. Industrial, where we conjured cities to house factories inhabited by a well-earned workforce to man the machines. This coupled to the ingenuity of English engineers who never found a problem without a solution. The third, the glorious one that brought about civil and religious liberty, one rule for all, and the radical notion that a man should profit from his labours. But we are not greedy. We exported our language, our law, our sense of fair play. In our safe shipping lanes trade flows through never-ending day.
And when Britannia ruled the waves,
We used our power to free all slaves. We managed the world and allowed all others to travel in the social order we created with humour in adversity, because that is our way. Achievements we have too many to list. From this small kingdom God has kissed, we travelled the world from the highest mountain to Arctic's Kabatic, tundra and back again. The traces of our kindness are in our railway lines that transport the world to work, our compassion in the water systems that hydrates foreign soil.
We left everywhere better than we found it, because that is our way.
I could list another thing or two, like how we taught the world to queue, but I'll leave that for another occasion. It's time to have a celebration. Admire the wonders of our creation. To our ancestors, homage we must pay for doing things the English way. For we are the English, and this is our day.
who are ye? In rags and rotten shoes, all dirty and bearded, blocking up the way.
We are the pilgrims, master. We shall go always that little bit further. It may be beyond that last blue mountain barred with snow, across that angry or glimmering sea. We are the English.
Every Englishman's house is his castle. So hoist your colours on the ramparts for England Day. Then down after St George's Day. We are English, and we'll be patriotic in an organised way.
Okay, 11th of April, so it's not long away. If you want to be involved in England Day and you would like to represent your county, and we've currently got like about one county covered, please send me an email, 42rights@yahoo.co.uk. All you're going to need to do is do something for England Day, enjoy it, take a little picture and send it so I can load it on the Facebook and log it as for that county, please. Bangers and mash, pan mash, full English breakfast, walking the dog, beachy head should not be a hard fucking sell, people. Please come and do this. Thank you. And the only thing I've got left to say is I've been 42, and you lot in the chat have as always been fucking amazing. Thank you. Good night. God bless. I'm out of here.